Welcome to the Tick-Talk Podcast, a place for real conversations about Lyme disease and tick-borne illness. Hosted by Christina Murphy, Lyme advocate, educator, and vice president of the LEAF program. This podcast brings together patients, doctors, researchers, and families, working to change how Lyme is understood, treated, and prevented. These are the stories, the science, and the voices driving awareness forward.
All right, guys, good morning. Welcome to Everything Frederick. This is Frederick TikTok. We're trying to do everything that we can to bring awareness to the Frederick community and keep our children safe from getting diseases that the ticks and other vectors carry. So I want to welcome today Jake Broughton, who is a board member for the LEAF Program, Inc., and also has done work for, okay, help me out, Jake.
Are you thinking of Center for Lyme Action?
Center for Lyme Action. I'm sorry, I had a moment.
No worries.
All right. And then the second person we have today is we have Sharon Ibanez, my buddy, my friend. And she works for Lyme Warrior as an event coordinator, and she also is an entrepreneur. And I can't remember the name of your business. I apologize profusely. But I hear she makes marvelous, wonderful things and works very well with other people. So my focus today is, of course, awareness and prevention for our community. And I'm going to start with Jake and say, what brought you to doing the things that you do? I mean, what was your journey?
Sure. Thank you for that. And thanks for having us this morning. I
truly appreciate
the opportunity.
Yeah.
It was quite the journey for sure. I got into advocacy in late 2000, just before the whole COVID pandemic hit. And leading up to that moment, I had already gone through about 7 years of chronic symptoms and chronic pain. And between 2012 and 2016, I was running around doctor to doctor trying to figure out what was going on. Kind of a common tale, obviously, with the Lyme patients, and saw 28 doctors in about 5 years, bunch of different second, third opinions at George Washington Hospital, Johns Hopkins University, Georgetown, given I'm here in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and try to go to all the best rheumatologists I could, but no one could land on a single diagnosis. And eventually, when I started seeing an integrative pain specialist for mental illness, and she had very little knowledge of it, but she at least had a test that was a bit more accurate at the time to offer me. And it shed some light on me possibly having Lyme. And that was late 2016. And then once I kind of hit the books myself, because the doctors I was seeing were continuing to deny it, to kind of diminish what I was going through, and really trying to stick to a singular diagnosis. And I would bring up the co-infections to Lyme, and one cardiologist said, "Oh, Babesia, that's a Pacific Island infection, isn't it?" And I'm like, well, if you go 15 minutes that way, I'm sure you can find plenty of it in Loudoun County. So that kind of took me through, some of the adversity I had with doctors. And once I finally hit the books and was kind of convinced myself that this was more than just, a myriad of autoimmune illnesses, it was some sort of underlying infection and other factors going on, I sought out a functional medicine doctor that specialized in Lyme disease. and had to go on a pretty rigorous treatment protocol for a couple of years. And at that point, once I started regaining some of my strength back, and going through years of really not having a voice in the medical situation, feeling unheard, neglected by the medical community, I think it allowed me to get some agency back to participate in advocacy work. And that's when I met a member of the LEAF program, actually doing Reiki for the first time. And she
Nice.
was to be a member of LEAF and brought me in. And just felt natural. And I started leading a support group, which still goes on today. It's on Meetup. It's called Lyme Alive Information and Support Group. So it's all about raising awareness as well for people that may not know, and then support for people that are living it. And so, yeah, that brought me to the advocacy point, and then Center for Lyme Action is its own function as far as asking Congress and lobbying for funding for Lyme disease, money that Congress would approve and go to the main government agencies, but it's progress nonetheless within the NIH, CDC. So I've been doing that this is going on 6 years. So late 2019, 2020. Yeah, so about 6 years with them and LEAF and doing the support group. And along the way, my doctors kind of nudged me into becoming a functional medicine health coach. And again, that very first Reiki session kind of opened my world to energetic medicine as well. And I became a sound healing practitioner. So the whole journey kind of fed into me becoming my own advocate for, on behalf of people who can't, participate or speak up in that moment because they're so sick. And then, going on to more practical help in the functional medicine coaching capacity.
Okay. Now I'm going to shift over to Sharon. Sharon, from your experience, after reading your bio, I understand that you and your daughter also have had experiences. So from the perspective of not just a caregiver, a mother, an entrepreneur, but having a child with these diseases, can you explain your journey?
2 daughters, actually. My whole family has it.
Okay.
It's it's a whirlwind. There's good days and bad days. Right now, both girls and myself are pretty high functioning. We still have issues, but it was a mess getting here, especially with my oldest, because she was much sicker than any of us, especially during our high school years. And much like Jake, my story was really similar, actually kind of the same time period too. I mean, I've been sick personally since I was about 13. I used to go hunting with my dad all the time, and Mom was always pulling ticks off of me, but we didn't know anything about them back then. Plus we're in Texas, so nobody ever talks about it.
Right.
And so I was sick really off and on throughout my entire life. And it wasn't until I was pregnant with Mara, my oldest, that I think I woke the beast. And I had never felt like death as I did when I was pregnant with her. And I mean, we're talking debilitating migraines for weeks at a time. I was doubled over on the floor all the time. I could barely move, and I really thought I was dying. I thought she was killing me. And it turns out, several years later, tons of misdiagnosis. Rheumatologists here, they just laugh at you and tell you that you're crazy and that you need to stop seeking attention. Hashimoto's, I was told I had lupus, thought it was cancer. I mean, the list is just ridiculously long. And then finally, I saw a documentary on Netflix called Afflicted, and one of the guys on there was like mirroring me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have everything. I have to have Lyme. And so I told my doctor, and she laughed at me and she goes, oh honey, we don't have Lyme in Texas. And I was like, are you sure? Because ticks don't know borders. So if there's Lyme a few states north. Why can't there be some here? And
Right.
she's like, well, I just don't know what to tell you. You're a medical mystery. And I said, you know what? Just test me. I don't care.
Right.
And so we kind of bantered back and forth. And she finally texted me or tested me. And of course, my test came back negative. So she kind of giggled. She's like, I told you, you don't have Lyme. And I was like, then what's wrong with me? She was like, I don't know. I can't help you anymore. So that began my journey on self-advocacy and doing my own research.
Okay.
And finally, I found Dr. Offit, which I'm sure most people are pretty familiar with, in Marble Falls. And she's like, yeah, girl, you've got Lyme and so many other issues. Let's take care of you. So that was my journey. And then after that, I was able to recognize that the girls were presenting, especially Mara. And I think I actually forgot what the question was. Christina.
That's okay. You're telling me your journey, and that's the most important thing. I will come up with questions as we go along and try to get both of you to jump in as we go.
Sponsored by Intense Barbecue, family-owned barbecue food truck and catering company cooking in small batches to ensure that the food is the freshest it can be. Intense Barbecue can cater your events, and they do any kind of food. It doesn't have to be barbecue. Find them at SEBBQ.com and satisfy your meat tooth. Think you've seen it all? Danny Gurry keeps finding Frederick's hidden gems. Family spots, mom and pops, and can't miss bites. Good Morning Frederick. Make sure to watch live at 9 a.m. every weekday on Facebook and YouTube.
If you had awareness way back when, I mean, what would this have looked like to you? I mean, either of you can answer first. Decide between the two of you.
You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I don't know. It would definitely have changed my life and my kids. If we would have known for my mom to not take my dad's cigarette to burn the ticks off of me,
Right.
that would have been a great start. Knowing to send the ticks in for testing. Who would have thought about
Right.
that? Just general, being prepared, being smart. Like, I don't ever want anyone to feel afraid of going outside, hunting, hiking, camping. All that's amazing stuff, and it should always be done. But be smart. Permethrin your clothes and your gear, and we like to use all natural stuff on us, but use regular bug spray and then reapply every 20 to 30 minutes. Do your tick checks when you come home. And I think just basic knowledge like that would have made a difference. And then also knowing, that me being sick could have gotten my kids sick.
Right.
And if I would have had the proper care when I was pregnant with both the girls, maybe they wouldn't have ended up with it.
Right.
So.
Right. Now, for anybody that's watching this, I want to let people know that Sharon is like a fabulous force of nature with Lyme Warrior. So keep an eye out. She's going places and doing things. So keep an eye out for her. And I want to make sure to shout out for Jake and look him up, because health coaches are really, really important in this journey of education. Now, Jake, your opinion about awareness and education, please.
Sure. I guess I'll start by piggybacking off what Sharon said. I mean, obviously, if there was more awareness, all the way back in the 90s and 80s when I'm growing up as a child, and our parents were more informed, whether through our family physicians or our health agencies, at that time, that surely would have prevented any harm that was to come. Because like Sharon, I'm pretty sure based on my exposure history and where I've lived, spending all that time in the woods and at the creeks and camping as I got older and playing music festivals, I just wasn't aware. I didn't know to think about it. I think I knew there was ticks, but I didn't know the dangers of them or what could come of Lyme disease, and let alone the other dozens of pathogens that they can carry as well. So I think, in today's era, and in the last 5 years particularly, it seems like there's more public awareness going on. I've seen more positive pieces in the Time magazine. There's been some pieces on 60 Minutes talking about alpha-gal. I mean, you mess with people's ability to eat meat, then maybe that'll finally raise some attention to the issue.
Right.
Mess with their food, then that might become a different issue. And I mean that in the best way possible. People love their burgers and steaks and whatnot, so.
Oh, yeah, let me interrupt you for 1 second. Okay. How about explain alpha-gal for a moment?
So alpha-gal comes about because there's a molecule in the mammals, like a sugar protein, that the tick picks up and transmits to the human, and it creates essentially an allergy to meat. And it can range anywhere from headaches and fatigue all the way to full-on anaphylaxis, throat closing, emergency situation. And many people don't know this, and this goes along with the awareness piece, is that these mammalian products are within beauty supplies and soaps and shampoos, even, and this is for a lot of the Lyme community or those with cancer and doing everyday IV treatments, they use what's called heparin. And heparin can have mammalian product in it as well. So you're sitting there doing your treatment and could accidentally be putting yourself into an anaphylaxis state just by using a medical treatment that cleans the IV tubing.
Right.
So you really got to look out for this stuff. And some people that end up with alpha-gal syndrome, even just the smell off the grill can send them into an allergic state. So it can range very wide, but it can be very serious as well.
Now, Sharon, correct me if I'm wrong, but you guys have experience with alpha-gal.
I do, yes. I thought some of my girls do. Mine is luckily on this end of the spectrum where I can still eat meat. I just, beef hurts. But I'll just take a whole bunch of, I can't remember what I take, but I take something to help me process it. And I just try to eat really good, clean, organic, grass-fed meats if I'm going to. Venison, luckily, and rabbit don't bother me, but beef hurts. Yeah, it doesn't like meat. But I can still function really fine. Like I'll have a really bad stomach ache. I might get really sick, or like he was saying, headaches and fatigue. That's usually my worst. But yeah, I know people that there's certain casings around some of the pills, I think, that might have, I guess, animal proteins in it. And so they have to be careful what supplements they take, which is crazy. Right. So it's pretty.
Is that cellulose or gelatin or something that's used in the capsules?
Oh, yeah. I had a friend find out for the first time. I don't know how she didn't know this, but that Jell-O is made from animal gelatin. And so that didn't end well for her. She's fine, but I was like, oh my gosh, how did you not know that? That's not good. But she was just saying, yeah, it's just Jell-O. It's a healthy snack, or is it? I don't even know. Yeah.
Depends who you talk to.
Yeah. I don't eat it, but
I would add though, just for those listening and watching, alpha-gal is transmitted by a specific tick as well, and it's called the Lone Star tick, and it's smaller nymph stage, as we call it, early on, it's a bit more difficult, but as they get more into adult phase, there's a white dot right on the back of it. So, at that point, it's kind of easier to catch, relatively easier to catch. And at that point, that, if you get bit by one of those types of ticks, that's something to look out for.
Yeah.
Okay, now here's a question. And to my mind, kids in school learn from STEM classes about different species of insects, animals, whatnot. I mean, how many different species of ticks do we have to be concerned about? And do you think that this should be added into curriculum in schools for kids? I mean, not to scare them, but to make them more knowledgeable. What's your thoughts?
Do you want to take that, Jake?
Sure. I'm actually Googling it right now because I'm not exactly sure on the exact number, but in the United States, it's around 90 to 100 different species of ticks.
Okay.
And then within a tick, if we were to take all the pathogens we find in the country combined, it's something like 20 to 30 different pathogens that can be inside one tick.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
I knew it was up there. I wasn't sure on the exact number.
yeah, that was actually higher than what I was guessing in my head. But I'm not surprised. So education wise, I think yes. I don't necessarily know if we need to go into the detail of which ticks are which. Just be smart, be safe, and be aware of what early symptoms can look like, especially for teachers. If your student all of a sudden is having chronic headaches or chronic ear infections, or all of a sudden complaining of random joint pains or stomach issues or behavioral problems that come out of absolutely nowhere, those are clear signs that something is wrong. And I would bet that some sort of tick-borne illness is involved.
Okay.
That's the way my oldest, Mara, she was constantly complaining about her lower back hurting and her knees hurting. And we were always told it's just growing pains, it's growing pains. And then when she got into high school, she couldn't eat. She dropped so much weight. It was terrifying. And she's like me. She likes to eat. We like good food. And she kept saying, "I'm hungry, Mom. I'm hungry." But every time she put something in her mouth, she would throw it up. She couldn't stomach anything. She couldn't even hold down water. At one point, we had to take her to the emergency room because she wasn't even holding down water. And oh, she has an eating disorder. No, she does not have an eating disorder. Something's wrong with her. And I had to fight the doctor forever. And then finally, it just, I guess either Dr. Offit or I did research, I don't know. And we finally figured out that this was absolutely a Lyme symptom. And once we started treating her for Babesia and Bartonella, she was able to eat again. And, her weight stabilized. And it's just knowing simple things like that. It doesn't seem, is it simple? I don't even know. It seems so complex, but just being aware of behavioral and physical changes in the child. And if a teacher can catch that and be like, something's wrong with John, I think we should look into it. I think let's do some research, instead of just being like, oh, he's being awful lately. Your kid has attitude issues. Well, there's reason.
Right.
Yeah, I can directly relate to that one. Going back to childhood, and I didn't know if I had Lyme at that point, obviously, or, I don't remember tick bites, but it's seemingly overnight or, just like a flip of a week, my whole behavioral attitude shifted, became defiant, was making trouble in school, troubles at home. But all the while I was having severe knee pain. Leading up to all that, I was going to the clinic in elementary school with headaches, and eventually you got to wonder if you're having all these different systems starting to have some sort of dysfunction. You got to wonder what is the root cause there, and the doctors as long as we've known, and to this day, they have their specialty, they're in their lane. And it's really with Lyme disease, it's not a one size fits all approach, and everyone's so unique in how they present with their symptoms, and then what's going to help bring them back to health and well-being.
Right.
And yeah, I could just totally relate to the childhood experience for sure.
Okay. All right. Now, moving forward, I'd like to get what you guys would like to see happen in order for us to get more prevention education out there for families and children. In not just my community, but in your community as well. And I'll let you, whichever one of you wants to take it first, go.
I would just say, again, the public awareness seems to be catching up, but I don't know that it's translating into the doctor's office. And that's kind of
Yes.
like our first point of contact. We're not going to learn this stuff just on the side of the street and just everyday conversation. When we end up in the doctor's office with these seemingly random symptoms, at that point, it's up to the provider to kind of toss out the idea, if they have some knowledge around this or was trained around this, that Lyme could be part of, the differential diagnosis or one of the possibilities of what's causing all these symptoms. So I feel like the awareness really needs to trickle down, because we are hearing from agencies, they're bringing up the issue again. I attended the Human Health Services Roundtable about Lyme disease, and it was good to hear people from higher ups, saying the gaslighting's over and, the neglect is over. But, at the end of the day, we have to see how that really translates and what actions might actually be taken. It sounds really good and it's very validating for everyone going through it, but how is that practically going to translate into the doctor's offices so the patients can become more aware? And other than that, as you brought up before, if there was some sort of talk in school as we grow up, that would be great. We can't expect them to talk about all infections and diseases, but when kids are the highest, exposure rate to ticks and Lyme disease, ages 5 through 12,
Mm-hmm.
are like the highest risk group,
Mm-hmm.
then I think it's pretty important that we pass that education along as early as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sharon?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think the community is working really well to bring awareness and education to the public. Awesome. But like he said, Jane can go to the doctor saying, look, this is what I think is going on. And he's going to look at her and say, no, we don't have that here. Oh, so yeah, we need to get and infiltrate the actual medical field. They're the ones that we need to be raising awareness and education to, because they need to be able to recognize when a patient comes in, oh yeah, you are presenting this, or this. So let's take a deeper dive instead of, no, that can't be the problem, or just blame it on something else like lupus or MS. Well, most of the time those end up being Lyme when they dig deep enough.
Right.
But we just kind of slap a diagnosis on there and we're like, here you go. Good luck.
Right.
So I think we really need to work. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off at all. I just was going to say Lyme literally just, it's too complex for the regular medical model. The 20-30 minute appointment, diagnosis or two, here's your medication. It's not that cut and dry. And I think the big red flag is seeing that there's multiple systems affected at one time. You've been running around to doctors, no one can come to a consensus. That should raise a bit of a red flag right there. And
Yeah.
I believe I know there's a pretty useful survey that Dr. Richard Horowitz came up with that
Right.
was shown to be like 73 to 78% accurate, or at least specific. So if you scored high enough, like it was pretty, about 3/4 probability that you do have Lyme. And they ask questions based on where you've traveled and how many autoimmune diagnoses do you have, how many doctors have you seen, like practical questions that highlight the actual human experience as we're trying to figure out what this diagnosis is. And that has seemed to prove to be more accurate than our current lab tests that we have through our commercial labs.
Yeah.
Now, what is the accuracy of the lab tests?
About 30%.
Yeah, I didn't want to quote it inaccurately, but I think it was like 38 to 52%.
It depends on which study you're looking at, but yeah.
Now, do you find that tests from a lab on the humans is better, or getting the ticks tested first and taking that information to the doctor is better?
I think having a tick tested helps. I don't think it should be the end all say all, but I definitely think if you've got like, hey, dude, this tick had Bartonella, I need you to pay attention to my symptoms that I'm talking about. I think that would definitely help.
Okay.
I think both
Jake?
is good. And then, like Jake said, that Horowitz questionnaire is golden.
Yes.
And I think most people, or I don't know about most, but many people, Lyme should definitely be a clinical diagnosis.
I agree. All right. So, to cover what we've gone through, basic golden rules, let's say, about prevention. And I'll throw this out there to you, Jake, because I was always told that going out into the world with a good immune system was the first best defense, so that our bodies can fight off disease. But I want both of you to come up with your golden rules about what you would tell somebody for basic prevention. So.
Okay. Well, I think, as you said, a big golden rule is before any of that happens, let's raise some awareness about our own personal health and take accountability for that piece in and of itself. The stronger the immune system, maybe the worse reaction. But again, Lyme is so complex. It could take someone out that has the most robust immune system and someone who might have a weakened immune system for whatever reason may end up faring okay. It's just, it varies that much. So as far as prevention goes, again, going back to spraying the clothes when we're out in the woods with permethrin, using, whatever bug spray you're comfortable with using. But, really the key and golden rule, I would say, for how I see it is the tick check. I mean, if you're in the woods, even if it's not even in the thick of it, these days with how it's become, it's worth doing a one-over when you get home, de-dressing as much as you can out back and get your clothes in a trash bag and put those in a dryer so we can kill the ticks off with heat. But make sure you hit the shower and thoroughly. In Leaf, we have a song that we used for that: the head, shoulders, knees, and toes. And that's just a simple, map to go by, but really checking the places we don't often look, and just making sure, because really your first line of defense.
Absolutely. And anything to add to that?
No, he said pretty much what I would have said too. But yeah, I mean, ticks can be as tiny as a speck of dust or dirt on you. So you're probably not going to see it unless you're doing an extremely thorough check. And I mean, like, check everywhere,
Yes.
like literally they like dark, warm places. So you're going to look in your private parts, your armpits, the napes of your knee, the nape of your neck, on your scalp. People don't necessarily think to do that. But like he said, yeah, dress down to your skinnies while you're outside and then throw everything in that dryer on high heat for at least 30 minutes. I mean, we're in Texas, like I've said. So we have some property out here. It's not woodsy at all. It's, we do have a lot of gorgeous oak trees, lots of cedar, but we go hiking on our property all the time. And I make my kids, I mean, they're both big now, 16 and 21. And one's married. So I make her husband do it now too. Every time we go, I'm like, go to the laundry room, undress, throw everything in the dryer, and then check each other while you're in there.
There you go.
It's so simple. It's just,
Yeah.
like you said, that is literally your first line of defense. If you can catch it before it bites you, bam, you're clear. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I got to thank both of you for coming today. And for the audience sake, I want you to know this is a show that is about awareness and prevention. We can advise tips and tricks on how to protect yourself against being bitten from ticks. We can advise you to go to a doctor and get tests, but we are not doctors and we do not give medical information. So it's up to you guys to take care of your health, and you have all of us here on Frederick TikTok trying to help you. Okay. We love our communities and we want to see our children grow up to be able to go play outside, maybe learn some hunting or fishing with their families. It's all great stuff. And, you guys are like the best ever because you're helping me to help my community. And I love you guys.
Well, I'm grateful for you. So I thank you for the opportunity. And Jake, it's really nice to meet you. Guess we've never met before.
You as well.
Hey, Jake, meet Sharon. Sharon.
Yeah, we should connect a little further.
Yeah, I would love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you for all you do, Christina. We really appreciate it.
Oh, good.
Definitely.
And I want to do a shout out. We're going to be doing a Run Like a Warrior Lyme education run here in Frederick. That is going to be one out of how many?
10. We have 10 this year. Yes. 8 states.
Wow, that's
states,
fabulous.
So.
Awesome.
Yep.
That's
Yeah, it's pretty
fabulous.
amazing.
I know. I can't
And we
wait.
have a huge 10th anniversary gala coming up in May. So
Brilliant. That's fantastic. All right, Jake, any special news from your end?
Well, I recently launched my functional medicine coaching business. As you can see, it's called Be in Tune. So I'm working with people that are experiencing chronic illness and trying to regain their health and get back on track and, manage their protocols and their new way of life they may be dealing with, and people with high stress. So if anyone out there would love a free chat, please reach out. I'd love to communicate with you and see if I could be of any help.
All right, fantastic.
congrats on that, by the way. That's pretty cool. So
Yay.
Yeah, the email is jake@beintuneliving.com.
Fantastic. All right, you guys. Everybody in everything Frederick, you heard it first here. All right? Frederick TikTok. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks,
bye.
Christina.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the TikTok podcast, hosted by Christina Murphy. If this episode informed, inspired, or helped you better understand Lyme disease, take a moment to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Your support helps these conversations reach the families and communities who need them most. As always, you can watch all past episodes on the Everything Frederick Live YouTube channel.